Welcome back. The show's called Brand Equity, and I'm Sonali Krishna. Now, Jason Sperrer, who's the global head of performance media at Google and previously the head of global mobile sales and strategy, means business when he says consumers have adopted mobile faster than businesses can keep up. And while marketers seem to know that, their actions reveal a knowing-doing gap. Sperrer, who has more than 8 years of experience in the mobile space in product marketing and general management, spoke to me about mobile as a medium and how a mobile-first strategy is no more an option but a necessity in today's complex landscape. Listen in. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. Truly a pleasure having you on ETNOW.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I really want to start this interview by first asking you, how are marketers today looking at mobile? For the longest time, we've heard people, across the world talking about the increasing importance of mobile, given the fact that, we use it 24/7, it's our extended arm, and so on and so forth. But have marketers bought into the bait?
The data is undeniable at this point. There was a while where people were saying, yeah, well, mobile is just for entertainment, or it's just for texting, or it's just for these kinds of things. But on pretty much every metric that we track, mobile is now having an impact. It's having an impact on video viewing. As video is shifting, it's a place to engage. It's having an impact on purchases. It's very clear that there's a lot of commercial value being created in mobile. And so I think we're past the moment of yes, no, should we invest here? And I think we're into the period of how can we make best use of this medium.
Okay, fair enough. I'm only asking that question because, several global marketers we speak to, and I'm keeping the context global for now before I come to India, seem to suggest that, but that they're investing, and some of them are very aggressively investing. But a lot of other marketers seem to suggest that, because there is no real measurable data to tell you what is your ROI, it kind of gets a little bit, difficult to tell how much really you should be spending on this device.
What we see is if people apply the desktop model of did I convert in that session and get to a confirmation page, certainly people are buying things on mobile. And as we get better with payment credentials and all of that, it's getting better. But what marketers are coming to realize is you have to look at a cross-device journey. You have to look at how people move between PCs and mobile and back again.
Sure.
You also have to think about how the digital experience influences what you do in the physical world.
Right.
So many people are standing in front of something in a store making a decision. And the digital can influence the physical, and the physical can influence the digital. So what I would say is we are able to build closed-loop ROI models for most of our customers in most categories now, and I think that people are starting to get used to that level of precision.
So, so that's interesting that you say that, because, for instance, Martin Sorrell, who seems to be, a frenemy of sorts for Google, seems to constantly suggest that the problem with, let's say, tracking of this data in terms of sheer measurability stems from the fact that, you're playing referee as well. So there is no real third-party measurable, credible system that can actually track that, and that really therein lies the problem. For instance, for traditional advertising, whether it's effective or not, and that's a different debate, right? We still have a third-party, institution that gives us data saying that this is what happened.
Yeah.
Whereas for Google, Facebook, and anything else, maybe even Twitter, right? They give you their analytics, so it's you're playing referee as well.
Well, I get that metaphor. I've heard the fox guarding the hen house, yes. I guess I would say a couple of things. I think most marketers understand that Google Analytics is an arm's length product, that the church and state separation is real, and the data is not commingled. And so I don't find people who are holding back on mobile because we're the ones doing the measurement. We try to be as transparent as we can based on our privacy rules that we have with the consumer. So I do think this media is measurable. I do think this media is measurable specific to Google Media, separate from others. As an industry, I would love to have something that's universal, and I think the Nielsen ComScore model is now there for video, and we have partnered with them to understand viewability and all of that.
Sure. I was reading one of your recent interviews, and you've actually talked about the fact that a lot of people, let's say in the last couple of years, have gone the app way.
Yeah.
And that might necessarily not be the right way, because finally you have a limited number of apps that you'd possibly have on your phone.
Yeah.
And something that I will only use regularly. So give me your sense of, if that's your spiel currently to marketers, that, everybody can't blindly go down the app route. What would your recommendation be now?
What we've learned from the journey that we've been on in other markets is that the market seems to be settling as an and, not an or. The market seems to be settling that apps are for your best customers. right? And that may, if you're doing a really, really good job, be 7, 8, 9% of your customer base. If you're Starbucks or you're Geico or you're one of these, you're doing a great job if you get high single digits % of your loyal audience on your apps.
Okay.
The other 90-something% is going to engage you on the mobile web.
Okay.
And the mobile web is getting better every day. And so for most of our customers, they're now investing in parallel as the and, not the or.
Okay.
Two exceptions to that. There are any number of companies that we all know that are born in mobile and born as apps.
Sure.
And I would identify the Ubers and Grubhubs and Instacarts of the world in the US, where these businesses have been very, very successful only as apps and only in mobile.
Sure.
Which brings me to India, and I think the phenomenon, both because of some of the network challenges with bandwidth and 2G and 3G networks and all of this, we see any number of businesses having a lot of success as being very, very app focused. I do think some of the biggest ones that have been the most high profile have recently concluded that a high power, well-designed mobile website is a critical part of their offering.
Okay.
So I think where it's settling, if you look at Flipkart and others, is certainly the mobile app is a centerpiece of our offering. We're going to try to get as many people onto that as possible.
Right.
But we also recognize that the mobile web has a huge role to play, and I don't think we've found equilibrium yet in India.
A lot of advertising is really long format ads on YouTube, and that is our definition of digital advertising, which is really quite a cliche.
Yeah.
So instead of putting it on TV, you put it on YouTube, and it's also cheaper because, you know, the internet is cheaper as of now. So, and that's digital for you. So it's very actually unevolved, so to speak. What would you say to, you know, to marketers and agents and creative guys?
Well, I guess I would say a natural first step in any new medium is to take your stuff from the old medium and port it across. That's a function of how the creative works. You're defraying your costs across more medium. I think the next natural step, if I were sitting with that creative agency, would be to talk to them about building specifically for the medium. And so I think built for digital, built for mobile experiences are an inevitability. And I think we're already having enough examples that we can bring to the Indian market that show this done really well.
Okay.
And so I would invest in those that are leaning in to get past step one, which is port my content, and get into something that's built for the environment.
How would you compare mobile search ads versus, let's say, you know, desktop search?
Mobile has surpassed desktop in terms of number of queries. And I think inherent in your question is how valuable is a mobile click? And what I would say is I have zero doubt in my mind that the value of a mobile click will be greater than the value of a desktop click in the near future.
Tell me something, with mobile, right, isn't it going forward going to become more and more difficult for, let's say, a player as gigantic as Google to keep people onto Google because A, they'll be out of Google because they'll be on different apps or they're on other rival platforms, and you know, you guys have delinked each other. You know, there's a heavy divorce that's happened between, let's say, Facebook and Google. So given the fact that, you know, all of y'all are so native to your own platform and the fact that you have so many apps coming over, how are you going to ensure that, you know, majority of the people who you've cultivated, who have, you know, born and brought up and bred on Google remain there and there's not so much of diversion of traffic?
I'll give you a simple answer and I'll give you a complex answer. The simple answer is if we're delivering a great user experience, people are still going to come back. We don't get caught up as much in how much time people are spending, because if we solve that problem for them in search and get them on their way, then we've done our job.
Okay.
The slightly more complex answer in all of that, I think, is that Google has to, just like every brand in the Indian market and every brand around the world, has to continue to evolve our products for the mobile market. And that's where you see things like Google Now and Google Now on Tap and an evolution of our analytics products. So we're building for the mobile customer, but like everyone else, we're learning the customer behavior as we go. I think so far we've done a pretty good job, and I'm very proud of what we've done.
Fair enough. On that note, thank you so much, Jason, for your time. Truly a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
And with that, we're completely out of time, but I hope you enjoyed these two very different conversations. Do take the time and drop us a line at BRANDEQUITY@ETNOW.TV, or alternatively, log on to our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/BRANDEQUITY, and tell us what you thought of the show. You could do the same on Twitter at BRANDEQUITYLive. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Until then, ciao, ciao.